So recently, the Daily Wire released a streaming service called BentKey, and I did a video on their Bluey ripoff called Chipchilla. I thought that would be the worst piece of content the Daily Wire puts out, which is saying a lot. However, they recently entered the comedy movie landscape with their premiere, I don't even want to call it a film, Lady Ballers. It's a film about a group of guys who decide to join a women's basketball league. That in today's world, as long as they put on wigs and say they're female, then they are and they can compete. And with their superior male genes, they're gonna win every game. Now, typically, a comedy movie has to have a funny premise, but this one doesn't, so they're switching it up. I think it's because this movie originally wasn't going to be a comedy. It was said that this movie was supposed to be a documentary where the Daily Wire would send out a group of guys to try and join women's league because, oh, trans women are doing it and they're men.
You approached me and you said we should make a fictional film about this topic. Now, to be fair, I think I'd actually suggested to the Crane Boys that they do this as a doc.
Yes.
I originally went to them and I said, you guys should go try out for a bunch of ladies' leagues. And that became not possible because, as it turns out, most ladies' leagues don't allow in actual men.
And obviously, that didn't work. That's not how it works. So they ended up pivoting and making a comedy film. Most likely because Joe Rogan, paid or otherwise, said that in order for a real comedy to be made nowadays, it would have to release on a conservative streaming platform like the Daily Wire.
You don't see a lot of really hardcore comedy movies anymore.
They don't make them anymore. Yeah. I don't understand why you can't make that. I don't know what happened.
You could, but you would have to have the right people with the right amount of balls, and I bet it would be hugely successful. Do you know what would have to happen? You would have to do one on a right-wing streaming platform like the Daily Wire.
So Mr. Boring Man, the founder of the Daily Wire, decided, yeah, that's exactly what we're gonna do because our attempt at making a documentary wasn't funny enough. So I did the only logical thing that you could do in this situation, and I wasted 2 hours of my life, and like the masochist I am, inflicted pain on myself for your enjoyment. So I guess not a masochist. Anyway, I watched Lady Ballers so you don't have to. It was horrible. Let me tell you about it. Like any good comedy, it has to start with a really good joke right out of the gate. Really get you laughing and guffawing in the theater or in the solitude of your own home, since this released on streaming services. And I can't imagine anyone would watch this movie with a significant other. I think a prerequisite for being a fan of this movie is just not getting laid. Anyway, the first joke in this movie is, drumroll please, a your mom joke. I'm not joking, it's a your mom joke here.
What the hell? You call that a pass? You call that a catch? Your mom's a catch.
I was only 2-3 minutes in, and I already regretted this decision. Anyway, I powered through. So the first scene of this movie takes place in the past. It's a high school basketball game, specifically the championship final. And the home team, the people that we're gonna be following throughout the movie, well, they're losing. And their coach, who has led teams in the past to victory, gives them a pep talk in the locker room to really lift their spirits. And this is where the kind of recurring theme of the film is stated plainly, because nothing can be left up to interpretation. They have to put it out to you immediately. The coach says winners are just losers who win.
I said winners are just losers who win. Winners are just losers who win.
The writing was this bad for the whole movie. Anyway, of course, they win the game after this incredibly inspirational speech. And the team just starts chanting, "Go, coach, go, coach," as this random hot lady just starts making out with him, and then they run off together.
Go Tigers!
It's like, this is a high school game. That feels a bit inappropriate, maybe not the time and place. But it's clear that this movie was made for men. Men that want to laugh, they want to watch sports, and they want to see hot women. It fast forwards then to present day, and of course, all the kids in the gym are now on their phones. They don't care about anything. So the coach seems extremely unhappy and demoralized and sends the kids on their way. He then makes a joke telling the kids not to steal his catalytic converter on the way out.
Good talk, boys. Please don't steal my catalytic converter again on your way out.
I guess accusing all of the youths of committing crime. And plot twist, the only black kid in the stands goes up to him, tells him hey, that's not an okay joke to make. He apologizes, and then he drops his wrench in front of him.
Yo, you can't talk to us like that.
You're right, Kevin, I'm sorry. Hey, buddy, you dropped your cordless reciprocating saw.
implying that the black kid is the one that is committing all these crimes. I wish I was kidding. He is the only black kid in the room. Anyway, of course, then the coach gets a call on the way to pick up his daughter, I guess. And the person, I guess it's like the principal, is like, hey, you can't make racist jokes at kids. You're fired. And the guy is like, if I can't teach them what not to steal, what can't I teach them? It's like the bare minimum. It's in the Bible. And the principal, of course, is like, you also can't teach the Bible to the kids.
It's literally in the Bible.
Which you also can't teach them.
Which makes sense because not every kid is going to be Christian. Anyway, then his car breaks down and people try to help him. And of course, the lady is wearing a mask, so I braced myself for more mask jokes. And it's not like she's wearing a mask for any other reason than the car was literally bellowing smoke. So the guy is like, oh, what's that? I can't hear you behind the obedience trap.
It's the obedience trap, lady. I can't hear anything through it.
And she pulls it off to reveal another mask. She's double masked. It makes sense. There is just so much smoke in this scene, especially because then when she takes it off and they like say a couple of words, they both start like hacking up a lung. I feel like there's plenty more setups to make fun of mask wearing other than literally the bare minimum situation where you should be wearing a mask. It's even funnier when in the next scene we get to meet his daughter, and his daughter is talking about how in class they had a moment of silence for all those like abused under the capitalist society, which is like weird, of course, and they're trying to hammer home like, oh, schools are brainwashing your kids, but I think it's kind of sweet. Your kid cares about other people. What a bad thing. Dunk on him. She then goes on to say that a girl in her class, Margaret, showed her penis, which doesn't happen in schools. Furthermore, what kind of sick mind would write something like that into a movie? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Why are you thinking about kids? I don't even know if I want to say it. I'm going to get demonetized. Anyway, the dad is upset, as I think any parent would be. I don't think I want any kid of any gender just showing their genitalia off at kids in school. But the dad makes a point to like misgender this person and reaffirm, girls don't have penises. And the kid is sure to tell him that. So far, this kid seems super caring and super inclusive, and he just seems like a dick, and this situation would never happen, so it's not comparable to anything in the real world, which I guess at this point, it's safe to say, if you're watching this and you're conservative and you're like, I don't believe that transgender people are valid, just click off. I mean, if you don't, I love it. You're helping me. You're giving me watch time. That's great. But your comments below and your snarky remarks that you think are so clever aren't, and it's just a waste of your time because I won't read them. And of course, it's about to get worse. We also learn in this scene that the main character, the coach, he's divorced, which makes sense. I don't want a stupid asshole as a husband. You go, queen. But like when they talk about it, they reference his ex-wife's boyfriend, but it's referenced as your mom's boyfriend. So in my head canon, I was like, is this guy just a cuck? Which is like, hey, great if you are. Again, a little too on the nose for Daily Wire's like main character of their first movie to be a cuck. So then they pull up at his ex-wife's house and we get to meet this boyfriend. He's got super inclusive signs out in his yard, if not a little more than he may need. I get it. They're trying to be like, look at how dumb liberals are. But again, the joke is stupid because I've never seen anybody kind of root for the home team more than like Trump supporters. I know you've all seen cars with like the giant Trump flags. Anyway, the guy is just meditating outside and the scene is supposed to like reaffirm how big of a soy boy this guy is or whatever. And he just seems really nice. He's nice to the coach when the coach is just kind of a dick.
My lover says you were a great coach back in the day.
Honey, why don't you go help Winnie with her homework?
But then he asked the coach to help him train for a marathon that he's going to be in, a race that the winner gets $5,000. And of course, the coach isn't going to help this guy because he's an asshole. But this piques his interest and he's like, well, I just lost my job. $5,000 seems pretty good. I'll coach someone else. But first, he has to get a new job. So he goes and gets a new job at what used to be a DVD store when he was younger, I guess.
Is this still compact discs forever?
Not for the last 24 and a half years.
And apparently it's been converted into a drag restaurant. It seemed pretty cool. A good way to like replace a Blockbuster. People are enjoying it. It's a good environment. And there he runs into one of the guys that he used to coach, who has now started working there as a drag queen and seems to be enjoying it. They then go to a bar after work and they make a joke about like, oh, I didn't know how handsy men could be. And I thought, that's a good observation. I like it. But then of course it's just to set up a joke where he slaps the waitress's ass.
I just had no idea men could be so handsy. Really makes you think about how you treat women. Thanks, babe.
Just straight up sexually assaults her right away. And if you think just like, oh, he slapped the waitress's ass is a funny joke, I'm at a loss for words. I don't know what to tell you. The guy says that he originally wanted to get into acting after college, and that's why he ended up having to stay in town because it wasn't successful. He says it's because Hollywood doesn't cast cis white men anymore. As you all know, that's simply not true. And they take a shot at Disney, the person that they built Bentkey, the streaming service, to fight, making Snow White a black neurodivergent lesbian, which she's none of those things. You'll notice that this movie is just setting up false premises and then kind of dunking on it. I know that if you watch Ben Shapiro, you're maybe used to that. That's what he does. But to see it put in a comedy is just stupid because comedies are supposed to be relatable or so completely out there that you didn't think of the joke. So when you just set up fake things in real life that are just twisted versions of real life, so they're just like once removed, and then you dunk on it, nobody's been in that situation. It's not funny. And that goes for a lot of jokes in this movie, but anyway, let's move on. He convinces the guy to go to the race, that he'll coach him to win, and they can split the $5,000. But when he goes up to sign up the day of, the lady working there says, you're too late. You can't sign up for the race the day of.
Whoa. What are you talking about?
You're late and there's nothing I can do, so next.
And they're sure to zoom in on the pin of this lady. It's like a transgender inclusion flag, I think. I can't remember. As if to be like, see, she's one of them. And it's like, no, dude, you just showed up for something the day of and expected to get in. Everybody knows that's stupid. So when the person he's coaching shows up and is still wearing the wig from work, the lady thinks, which would never happen, that his friend is a transgender woman and then completely backpedals. Oh, I'm so sorry. Please don't cancel me. Of course you can join the race.
Please, I have a family and a queer dog.
Again, false premise. Would never happen. Not funny. Whatever. And they're sure to dunk on female athletes as much as they can at this race, saying even a high school boy runs faster than the fastest woman athlete, which just isn't true. So again, what the fuck? I would give $1,000 to anybody on the Daily Wire crew that could outrun the fastest woman athlete. But then, because this movie was written in the fantasy land of Ben Shapiro, he of course wins by a lot because men are better than women. And we get to see this news reporter that shows up, and female Ben Shapiro is here for some reason. And the reporter sees the opportunity for a story, a powerful transgender woman winning this 5K race. And when the news anchors are like, but that's a man, because again, this is not a transgender woman. This is a man. It's very obvious to tell the difference. This only exists in fantasy land. The news anchors shut up because they don't want to get canceled.
But she does have certain advantages over a real woman, right?
Well, Stacy, Drake, all I can say to that is, how dare you? Trans women are real women and thus have no innate differences with other women whatsoever.
So then they go to the bar afterwards to split the money. The coach takes a majority of it and fucks over his friend because he's an asshole.
You're $500 richer. That's what you are.
500?
Well, you know out there. Taxes, attorney's fees, child support.
It's not funny. He's just an asshole. They make an easy joke at Bud Light will sponsor anybody, so you should be loaded with cash now. That's in reference to all the snowflakes that got really upset when Bud Light did like one sponsored ad with a transgender woman. I ain't gonna drink that beer because you have a transgender woman doing it and I don't respect that. I just don't drink it because it tastes like piss, but whatever. They also only talk positive about female athletes when it's about their body, when they can objectify them, how hot they are.
Here's to you, bud. Probably the least sexy elite female athlete of all time.
Anyway, now the journalist shows up and says like, hey, we should work together. I'll get you into these leagues so that I can continue making these stories because the world will eat this all up and it's stupid, but I'm a bad person and just care about my job. And when they agree, she also comes on to the coach for some reason and he wakes up tied to her bed, which like, yeah, he seemed like a bottom. That makes sense, but why is this here? So now they have to go and recruit their old teammates and all of them are doing a bunch of different zany things like working at a car dealership, and it establishes that they're still stuck in high school, so they obviously agree. One of the guys is like wearing a fanny pack and they take a cheap shot to be like, it's a man purse, but it doesn't have anything to do with the scene. It's just like inserted in there because they were like, oh, I really hate when men wear those man purses. We should put that in there.
Dude, that's not nice. This is a purse, bro.
They also do like an ad read for this company called Jeremy's Razors.
My man, looking smooth. Man, you guys weren't kidding. These Jeremy's razors are amazing.
And did you know that Jeremy's now offers a razor specially designed for women?
In the middle of the movie. Like, what the fuck are you doing? They recruit all the other players, and then they have to go and recruit the nerd that was the towel boy. And when they show up to his house, it turns out he's rich. He has a mansion. The guy that they thought was so pathetic because he wasn't on the basketball team is way more successful and happy than them. And for the sake of the plot, this guy put in a basketball court in his mansion just so that the team, when they would come by, could play. But then the reporter shows up and reveals that the plan the whole time was for them to enter women's sports leagues. And of course, like any sane person, the rest of the team that didn't know the plan was like, what the fuck? That's unfair and stupid and cruel and won't work. But there's no real conflict because the coach gives another one of his really stupid speeches and they all agree to do it.
Screw it. I'm in. Fine.
There's my boys.
They have the moral backbone of a chocolate eclair. It's also revealed that this journalist is like a turf in this scene, because of course she is, but she's also an asshole because she won't even shake the coach's daughter's hand when she shows up.
This is Miss Gwen.
Alex, boys.
What kind of a person does that? And of course, because this scene has no emotional drive, the ex-wife shows up and seems to be like regretting her divorce in a way, but that's lightly glazed over, so we'll move on. He then asks his woke daughter to educate them on what it means to be a woman. And the guy that worked in the drag restaurant informs them that being a woman can be summarized as shaving your legs, calling each other brave for things that take no actual bravery, and not being afraid to cry at work. Just condescending. Not funny, just condescending. But let's get this train moving. They go to their first game. The other team's coach gets mad because it's obviously not women. Obviously, again, you proved yourself. This doesn't work. But the coach is like, they're not women? Is that what you're saying?
Those aren't
What?
So they reluctantly play against each other, and the men win because this was written by men and men are better at sports. And then they trend online for no reason because no one would care about this. And the team starts to kind of feel bad for beating all of these women in the games that follow.
Okay, but aren't we just using our innate strength and speed to wail on a bunch of girls in a competition where we wouldn't stand a chance against other men? None.
Throughout all this, the reporter is weirdly horny for the coach.
Put a baby in me.
Because of course, women, sex objects, that's all they are. And even though the team felt bad, they realize how good winning is and how much money they're making. And since they're this good at basketball, they could pretty much win at every sport because men are better than women. So there's a montage of all of them doing a bunch of different sports against women and beating them incredibly. Even one that was like weightlifting, and they use fake weights. The man is definitely lifting more than I think I've ever seen anybody lift, but it's funny because the other actresses in this scene who are apparently getting beat out by this guy seem more fit, probably could outbench this person. And because it's written by like Ben Shapiro, they've got to do this stupid pronoun joke.
My pronouns are I'm strong.
And it moves on to a scene where they're doing an interview before their final game, I guess. And the coach is worried because the team seems like they're actually becoming women. That exposure to this is actually what makes people want to transition. And they do it in the worst way. The guys make fun of actual transgender people's testaments.
I've developed body positivity issues.
They also, of course, bring up the like trans age thing where one of the fully grown men is like, yeah, I'm in high school now.
You know, as my daughter Winnie has informed me, one can even be trans age now.
Not real. Wouldn't fly. And the coach's ex-wife, watching this all happen, approaches him and they get into a fight. And she admits that really all she wanted was for him to be happy. The coach was never happy.
You're the one who couldn't handle being married to a loser. You're the one who told me to try winning sometime.
I never cared if you won or lost. I just wanted you to be happy.
Throughout this whole film, we can see it. The dude is like 50-something, 60-something, still reminiscing about the glory days of high school, and is obsessed with only winning. Of course he's unhappy. No one would want to be around you, let alone marry you. But they're like, game before the final is happening, and Ted Cruz makes a fucking cameo, because of course he does, and their team actually almost loses, which leaves the coach in dismay. He thinks his team team is falling apart. He argued with his wife, and then his daughter says she wants to be a boy because only boys win.
I want to be a boy.
What?
I want to be a winner just like you, Daddy.
So the coach has an emotional reconciliation with his daughter that he was wrong. Girls can win too. They're really good at insert all of the condescending stereotypes that women are better at. Like,
they can be nurturing and sensitive and empathetic. Better at doing lots of things at once and caring for a lot of people at once. They're better at communicating and building community and they civilize men.
But his ex-wife hears this heart-to-heart, and guys, it looks like there's some hope for them. So the coach goes home, pondering everything that's happened, and the reporter lady shows up to tempt him back into it. Winning is all that matters. Isn't that what you want? Also, I'm really horny because in this film, women are only really horny. But when he's reluctant, she threatens to cancel him. The worst thing possible.
I'll cancel you.
No. Being held accountable for my own actions? But that means that finally we're on to the final game. The movie is almost finished. I was so happy I almost cried. But here's the plot twist. The team that they're up against also a bunch of men pretending to be women. And these guys are bigger. And of course, because it's this movie, they're black. They had to do the stereotype of like, look, it goes women, white men, black men when it comes to basketball and sports. The coach gives him a pep talk though, and they're getting destroyed. Of course they're losing. All of these guys aren't athletes. The idea that they could beat even small children is very laughable. But the coach realizes that it's time to be men.
It's time to man up.
That winning isn't all that matters. That they need to lose so as not to besmirch the achievements of winning, which they spent this whole movie doing. And the guy that worked in the drag restaurant reveals that he actually thinks that he might transition. They're resonating now with female pronouns, but the coach sits him down and says, hey, you're not a woman. Men can't be women. Whatever you're going through, I'll help you out. But you gotta get over it, man. And the dude is like, how do you know that about me? You don't know anything about me, which at this point, they want to transition. Great. But the coach, to reaffirm that they're not a woman, knees him in the dick.
How can you be so sure I'm not a woman?
Good talk.
Not funny. You just spent a heartfelt moment with your friend saying that if they were going through anything, you would be there for them. Even if you are a total bigot, it shows a fragment of caring from the coach. We haven't seen that the whole movie, and it's ruined by you assaulting your friend. What is it with you being an asshole? And this is the best part. The coach's big plan is to let his daughter and her friends, who we haven't seen throughout the entire movie, play the game for them. And it seems like the other team are being good sports. They start to, purposely let the girls win. They're like letting them break their ankles and stuff, helping them dunk. They don't win though. It ruins the scene. Apparently the other team at some point just turns it on and demolishes these kids. But all is well. We're flashed back to the members of the team that owned a car dealership that they've now converted into a public basketball gym, where the person that was debating their transition has now decided that, of course, coach was right. I'm a man. Men can't become women, and kids can learn that now from the best coach I know.
Kids will have a chance to figure out who they really are. From the best coach anyone could hope for.
And if that ending wasn't bad enough, it then slowly fades out, and the real David Walsh and Candace Owen are in a car and have this stupid fourth wall breaking moment that makes no sense. It's never been referenced. There's no tie-in.
Another Sweet Daddy Walsh adventure comes to a satisfying conclusion.
What are you talking about?
He does a stupid laugh. It goes to black. Credits, totally useless. My notes app was pages long while watching this to make this video. If this feels long to you, thank you so much for watching. I'll give you my thoughts, but I promise it felt so much longer to me. It's a 2-hour movie that felt like I was watching the extended edition of The Lord of the Rings, but the orcs in this movie look worse. Anyway, my thoughts on this movie was that even though they made it to be this conservative movie that dunked on all this stupid woke liberal crap in today's world that doesn't exist, was so obviously made up that the movie does a better job of like satiring conservative culture. If the movie was marketed as like, these conservatives made this movie, I feel like I could have laughed at those moments because it was most of the time so preposterous, the situations that they put people in. And I genuinely mean it when I say that even as like a more conservative comedy, it's just not funny. I wanted to laugh, but I think even Joe Rogan, with a very closed mind when it comes to comedy, couldn't even laugh at this movie if he watched it. Besides being poorly shot, having horrible audio quality, horrible editing, the writing was the worst part. Even if they had anything funny, you couldn't laugh at it because you were so distracted by all of it that was so horrible. So this is my plea. I am genuinely pleading, if anybody here knows somebody that works at Daily Wire or works at Daily Wire themselves, I am begging you, please don't make more comedies. You're in your element when you make your grifter bullshit. I totally disagree with Ben Shapiro. I strongly dislike him and all the things he stands for, but I know that he's successful in his profession, which is grifting and spouting nonsense. Do what you're good at. You are losers, and to tie it into the moral of the story, winners are just losers who win. So Ben, you're a loser, but when it comes to grifting, fuck, I gotta admit, you're a winner, man. You're really good at that. It's the only thing you're good at because you're not good at making streaming services, kids shows, comedies. So that's it. That's my thoughts. Please don't watch it. This video serves as probably more than you should know about the movie. And yeah, I'm gonna go back to trying to like sanitize my brain from what I just saw.